September 15th, Panama City, Florida, a courtroom. She will be 14 years old, and she will look across that room at the man she says hurt her when she was 9. That is not a scene from a movie. That is what is about to happen in a Bay County courtroom in a matter of weeks. The court filing that dropped on July 29, 2026, confirms something that changes everything about this case. The accuser herself, the girl at the center of the allegations against Joseph Duggar, is on the prosecution's witness list. She is going to testify. She is going to take the stand. She is going to sit in that witness chair and answer questions about what happened to her when she was a child. She was 9 years old during the alleged incidents at Panama City Beach. The affidavit describes Joseph asking her to sit on his lap numerous times. It describes touching that occurred under a blanket. She is 14 now. 5 years have passed, and she has decided, along with her family, that she is willing to face him in open court. Stop and think about what that means. Not the legal mechanics, the human reality. A 14-year-old girl is going to walk into a courtroom full of strangers, sit in a chair, and describe the most painful thing that ever happened to her. She is going to do it while the man she is accusing sits a few feet away, with his lawyer, with his defense team, with everyone working to make sure his side of the story is heard. She is going to do it knowing that his family is powerful, knowing that his name is famous, knowing that people on the internet will have opinions about her, knowing that this will follow her for the rest of her life, knowing that whatever she says in that courtroom will be part of the public record forever, knowing that years from now, when she is an adult, when she is in college or working or building a life, someone might Google her name and find this trial. And she said yes anyway. That is courage that most adults do not have. Most adults who were hurt as children never come forward. Most adults who were hurt as children spend their entire lives running from the memory, burying it, pretending it did not happen, numbing it with whatever they can find. The statistics are brutal. The vast majority of survivors never see a courtroom. They never tell anyone. They carry it in silence for decades. Some never even name what happened to them. They just live with the effects, the anxiety, the depression, the difficulty trusting people, the way their body tenses when someone gets too close, the way certain sounds or smells or places trigger a reaction they cannot explain. They carry all of that without ever saying the words out loud. And here is this girl, 14 years old, choosing to walk into the hardest room she will ever enter. But there is another story hiding inside this one, and it is the story of her father. The affidavit says that the accuser's father confronted Joseph Duggar on March 17, 2026. That confrontation happened 6 years after the alleged incidents at Panama City Beach. 6 years, think about that gap. 6 years of knowing something happened to your child. 6 years of living with that knowledge. 6 years of deciding what to do about it. Why did he wait? We do not know for certain. But if you are a parent, you can imagine some of the reasons. Maybe he did not know the full extent of what happened right away. Maybe his daughter was too young to articulate it. Maybe she did not have the words for it. Maybe she showed signs that something was wrong but could not explain what. Maybe he was in shock. Maybe he was trying to protect her from the trauma of a public case. Maybe he was hoping it would somehow resolve itself. Maybe he was afraid of what going public would mean for his family. Maybe he was weighing the cost of silence against the cost of action. And for 6 years, the scale kept tipping back and forth. Maybe he talked to lawyers. Maybe he talked to counselors. Maybe he talked to his wife night after night, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what the right thing to do was. Maybe he was afraid that confronting Joseph would make things worse. Maybe he was afraid that the Duggar name and the Duggar resources would crush his family. Maybe he was afraid that nobody would believe his daughter. And then something changed. Something made him pick up the phone or drive to that house or send that message and say, "I know what you did. I am confronting you." And according to the affidavit, Joseph eventually apologized. An apology. Let that word sit there for a moment. The father confronts the man who he believes hurt his daughter, and the man apologizes. Not in court, not through a lawyer, not in a public statement, directly to the father's face, or through whatever medium the confrontation happened in. He apologized. Now, what does an apology mean in that context? It is not a legal admission. It is not a confession. It is not something that automatically shows up in a courtroom as evidence. But psychologically, it tells you something. People who did not do something do not usually apologize for doing it. People who are innocent do not typically say sorry when confronted with an allegation. An apology in that situation is a recognition. It is an acknowledgement that something happened. And it came from a man who is now facing a possible life sentence if convicted. Think about what that apology must have felt like for the father. You confront the man who hurt your child, you look him in the eye, and he says, "I am sorry." What do you do with that? Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel worse? Does it make you angry that sorry is all he has to offer? Does it confirm what you already knew? Does it give you what you need to go to the authorities? Or does it just make the whole thing more painful because sorry does not undo what happened to your 9-year-old daughter? The father waited 6 years and then he acted. And the result of that action is a court filing in Bay County, Florida, with his daughter's name on the witness list. She is going to testify. He made that possible. He decided that 6 years of silence was enough. And his daughter, who was 9 when this happened, who is 14 now, agreed to go with him into this fight. Here is what that means for the trial. When the victim is on the witness list, the calculus of the entire case changes. In criminal defense, plea deals happen when the prosecution's case is weak or when the victim is unwilling to testify. Plea deals happen when both sides want to avoid the uncertainty and the trauma of a trial. But when the victim is willing to take the stand, when the victim is ready to look the defendant in the eye and tell a jury what happened, the prosecution has no reason to offer a deal. Why would they? They have the strongest witness they could possibly have. The person who was there, the person it happened to, the person who can describe it in their own words. Joseph Duggar faces a possible life sentence if convicted on both Florida counts. Not years, not decades that might end before he dies. Life. For a 31-year-old man with 4 children, life means never going home. It means watching your children grow up through visiting room glass. It means missing every birthday, every first day of school, every milestone. It means dying in a cell. And the reason the state is confident enough to push for that outcome is sitting on the witness list. A 14-year-old girl who said she will testify. Now think about what it costs her to do this. Not legally, emotionally, psychologically. The cost of speaking is not measured in years or dollars. It is measured in sleepless nights and panic attacks and the moments when you are alone in your room at night and the memory comes back and you have to decide whether to let it swallow you or whether to keep going. It is measured in the way your body reacts when you walk into a courtroom and see the person who hurt you sitting there, alive, breathing, looking at you. It is measured in the way your voice shakes when you start talking and the way the courtroom goes silent. And every single person in that room is looking at you. And you are 14 years old and you are carrying something no 14-year-old should have to carry. And then there is the cross-examination. The defense lawyer will ask her questions. That is how trials work. The defense will try to find inconsistencies in her story. They will ask about the timeline. They will ask about details. They will ask about things that happened 5 years ago when she was 9. And they will expect her to remember with precision that most adults cannot muster for events from last month. And she will have to sit there at 14 and answer those questions while the man she says hurt her watches from the defense table. That is the reality of testifying. It is not just telling your story, it is having your story challenged in public by a professional whose job is to create doubt. But she is carrying it, she picked it up, and she is walking toward that courtroom. If you are an adult watching this and you went through something like this when you were young, you know what she is about to face. You know the weight, you know the fear, you know the way people look at you differently once you tell your story. You know the way some people do not believe you, you know the way some people blame you. You know the way the system can feel like it is designed to protect the person who hurt you instead of you. And you know the way it feels when you finally decide to speak anyway. When you finally decide that your voice matters more than their comfort. When you finally decide that the truth is worth the cost. That is what this girl is doing. And she is doing it at an age when most kids are worried about school and friends and social media. She is worried about a courtroom. She is worried about a trial. She is worried about whether 12 strangers will believe her. Amy Duggar King has been talking about breaking cycles. She's been talking about standing up for victims. She's been talking about choosing truth over loyalty. And here in this courtroom in Panama City, a 14-year-old girl is doing exactly that. She is not talking about breaking cycles. She is breaking them. She is not talking about standing up for victims. She is standing up. She is the cycle breaker that Amy has been describing. She is the one who said, "This stops with me." Her father waited 6 years. She was 9 when it happened. She is 14 now. And on September 15th, she is going to walk into that courtroom and she is going to tell her story. Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, not because she wants to, but because it is right, and because someone has to. In a family that has spent decades protecting abusers and silencing victims and circling the wagons and sweeping things under rugs, this girl is doing the opposite. She is stepping forward, she is speaking, and she is doing it with the full weight of the state behind her. That is not just a legal development. That is a human being choosing courage over silence. And if you have ever been in her position, if you have ever been the one who had to decide whether to speak or stay quiet, you know that her choice is the hardest choice a person can make. And you know that she deserves every ounce of respect for making it.